Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Joy Lim Narkin. We go now to Dallas, where former police officer Amber Guyger has just lost her appeal for a new trial. The Texas Court of Appeals ruled that there was sufficient evidence to support her conviction for the murder in the shooting death of Botham Jean. Guyger shot Jean to death in his own home after mistakenly entering his apartment instead of her own. She testified that she thought he was an intruder. During cross-examination by prosecutors, Guyger described how she knew how to shoot to kill, to defuse a threat, and she intended to kill Jean.
You shot him exactly where you as a police officer are trained to aim, didn't you?
Yes, that's why we're trained.
Where are you trained to shoot a human being?
Rephrase that?
Where are you trained to shoot a human being?
In the center mass.
That's right. And you're trained repeatedly when you qualify to shoot at an individual center mass if you wish to stop them.
Yes, sir.
All right, and you know what a bullet is, don't you?
I do.
So you knew when you were shooting that gun that you were using deadly force against Mr. Jean.
Yes, it was a threat at the time.
Ma'am, will you answer my questions, please?
Yes, sir.
When you shot at Mr. Jean, you knew you were using deadly force against him.
Yes.
You know what a bullet can do, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And when you shot at him twice, you intended to kill him.
Yes, sir.
All right. So all this stuff about it being a sad mistake, at the moment in time when rubber meets the road, when you pulled that trigger, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
He was the threat, yes, sir.
Will you answer my question? When you aimed and pulled the trigger at Mr. Jean, shooting him in center mass exactly where you are trained, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
I did.
So now Amber Guyger is serving a 10-year prison sentence, and she'll be eligible for parole in 2024. Let's bring back in trial attorney Nicholas Fortuna. Were you surprised that her appeal was rejected?
You know, the evidence was there for the jury to convict her. I mean, you saw there that they proved the intent. There's no question that she was the one who committed the act. It's a sad case. It's a mistake by her thinking she was walking into her own apartment. And even if the appellate court disagreed with how the jury interpreted the evidence, they're only determining whether there was sufficient evidence to prove each element of the crime that she was convicted of. So once they establish that, there isn't much they can do for her on appeal.
Yeah. So again, she's going to be eligible for parole in 4 years. What do you anticipate?
Assuming she doesn't have any other incidents in prison, she'll probably be released.
And we have another clip from her explaining a little bit more about the shooting, and she's explaining why she did not assist Jean after shooting him. Let's listen.
Do you recall that this backpack and your heavy vest and your lunch pail was put down next to Mr. Jean?
Yes, sir.
So you had this right within arm's reach in that 5 minutes of time when you could have been giving him your full attention.
Yes, sir.
Inside this backpack, you've got something called combat gauze, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
This is for treating a person who has been injured, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it says on there, for temporary external use to control traumatic bleeding.
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that Mr. Jean was bleeding horribly from the gunshot wound that you put into his chest?
I don't recall much blood, sir.
You were able to tell the responding officers exactly where the bullet wound is. How would you have known that had you not looked?
What do you mean? Like, I knew he was shot somewhere.
You told them exactly where he was shot.
Top left.
Right. How would you have known that if you hadn't have looked to where he had been shot?
I knew where he was shot.
How? From the time that you shot him?
No, when I turned on the lights.
Okay, so did you look at the bullet wound?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you knew he was injured with a bullet, right?
Yes, I did.
And a person bleeds when they're injured with a bullet, correct?
Yes, they do.
Is there a reason why you didn't use this stuff right here, which is designed to control traumatic bleeding?
It never crossed my mind.
Nicholas, what did you make of that exchange and how it ultimately impacted everything that we've seen unfold so far?
Well, what the prosecutor was showing was that she had the opportunity to possibly help him if she thought he was a threat. He was no longer a threat. Now he was in need of assistance, and she provided no assistance. So that sort of cements what her intent was at the time she shot him.
Yes, and you know, of course, we have seen an awakening and a reckoning across our nation regarding police use of force. And I'm wondering how you think that this case kind of falls into that landscape.
Well, you know, I mean, it's probably, you know, an unfortunate time for an officer like in her situation to be tried, because people are not that sympathetic toward police in excessive force cases or mistaken use of force. But here, you know, you can see it was a sad case. She really did think she was threatened, that somebody was in her apartment.
Yeah, and you know, there was such a powerful moment when a relative of Mr. Jean actually hugged Guyger in open court right in front of the judge. I believe we may have captured that moment, which was moving to so many people here on Court TV.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts as we look at this case unfold and as she does become eligible for parole in 2024?
Just that I don't think there's any other recourse for her, and you know, and I do think that she should just work towards, you know, doing what she needs to do to get released on parole in 4 years, and you know, move on with her life. I think that's about it.
And so, what would that be? What can she do?
Well, she has to stay out of trouble. She should be as, you know, they look to see what kind of prisoner you are. Are you pursuing activities that are constructive for yourself, for your life afterwards? They want to see that you have some remorse.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for your expertise, Attorney Nicholas Fortuna, joining us, trial attorney specialist.